Jake. We're here. Yamaha.
We're on?
We're
on. Hey, I'm here with Nick from Sonicstate, our good friend. Hello.
Hello.
At the beginning, before the NAMM show starts, it's nice and quiet in here, so I'm very happy to show you the new YC61 Stage Keyboard. I say stage keyboard, I should also say organ-focused stage keyboard. Why do I say that? Well, because obviously we have the new drawbars in there, so it's very clearly an organ-focused keyboard. But we also have these two key sections that we're going across here, keys A and B. And you notice it's got a similar vibe to our CP series with these cool switches. So you can turn on the key section. We'll talk about a little bit what's in those key sections because there's some great stuff in here. You also have, lots of cool effects in here. I'll turn on the key section so you can see. These two key sections also have their own separate effects. So A and B have separate effects. So you have two separate effects for each key section. You have an effect here that you can kind of use as your utility effect to point wherever you need it, at the organ, at the key. Like let's say you have compressor and distortion maybe on one of the keys, and you want to have delay. You can use it for that as well.
Yeah.
And then far over here, you have the speaker amp section, where we have rotary A, rotary B, and I'll talk about what the difference between those two are. You also have lead, crunch, and double, which are amp simulators, and then case is a new one, VCM. I'll definitely talk more about this too, but these are all VCM models, so this case one is another one. It's a speaker amp of a vintage electric piano, basically. And you have its own drive and tone control over here as well. Reverb, that you can have separate send levels for each of your parts, organ, keys A or keys B, and then the 3-band EQ with sweepable mids on here. So that's just kind of the front panel tour. You notice something else that's kind of interesting about this keyboard. Now for me, I'm a pianist, so I come from definitely playing weighted action key and the keyboard style with the lip over the top. Well, we have now introduced and created this new waterfall key bed. And why waterfall? Well, one of the reasons why is because organ techniques kind of developed around this waterfall. Being able to do things like this. Sorry, let me turn off all the effects that I turned on when we were talking earlier. All this stuff too. So those type of things are much easier to play on something that has these waterfall keys, which is no lip on here.
Yeah, you're not going to cut your hand up.
You're not going to cut your hand up.
Yeah.
But now, again, coming as a pianist, I was kind of worried that, God, am I going to be able to really play this? Because I wasn't really much of an organ player, but I just played a gig Saturday. We announced on Thursday last week, so as soon as I could, I wanted to play this on a gig and try this out. The cool thing is that I had to walk 500 meters to the gig. So there's a cool backpack case on here, but I've been doing this with this guy. It weighs 7 kilograms, so 16 pounds.
Good, right.
So I can pick it up with one hand. So having that was really cool, lightweight. But I found that the waterfall key bed, it has a little bit of weight behind it, so it's nice to play pianos and stuff, and I'll play some of those in here as well. So that's kind of the overall sort of design of the instrument. Let's check out what it sounds like. So first of all, in this organ section, you'll notice that all the kind of usual suspects for organs are over here. So you have your rotary speaker control, and I have, stop, slow and fast control. So there's a dedicated button for that, but I can also set this up so that I can use this pitch wheel, which could be a pitch bend if I use it for a synth lead, because it does have a mono synth mode in here as well, which we'll get into. But I can set it here, I can set it to a foot switch. Very cool how it actually works. Or let's say that what I would like to do is, I really want to mess with, let's say, preamp drive. I want to show you some kind of cool things about this that I love. Let's say I want to be able to adjust this, but I don't want to use that thing. I want it here. So I can easily go into my settings and into controllers right here and go to modulation lever and go to assign. So now I'm just looking at this, and where do I want to assign it? Well, you just simply touch where you want to assign it. There, it's assigned to now preamp drive, and this will now, or no, I put it to a drawbar. I just set it there, but preamp drive. Or let's say I want it on this drawbar here. Now it's doing that drawbar.
Or so it's just very performance orientated then, yeah?
Very much so, and that's the whole point. The idea that I've been saying about this instrument is it keeps you in the music. That I like to have stuff that has a very simple interface so that when I go to this, I don't have to think about, what am I doing here? I don't have to go into a menu. I can assign things very quickly. And you'll see that with the single knob EG and single knob filter settings that are in this product over on the keys section in a second. But let's go back to this the H organs in here. So H1, H2, H3 are three different kind of virtual circuitry models of the tone wheel organ.
Tone wheel organ, right.
Yeah. So H1 would be like the one in the studio. I have kind of the tone all the way down. I'll put a little drive in here. It's It's got a really nice saturated sort of sound. So I have no reverb, I like a little reverb in here. So I'll turn kind of the drive back down here, and you notice that this organ really does have a really pristine, there's not a lot of leakage in this guy. But let's say leakage, for example. If I go into the settings section here, and I touch sound, and I go to organ settings, you can control things like leak level, key click level.
Leak level, for people that perhaps don't realise, is where all the stray harmonics that come between the tone wheels.
Between the tone wheels.
You end up with that kind of like.
And it was an anomaly. It's something that certainly wasn't part of the design of the tone wheel organ, but it's something that is a part of the sound. So people kind of found that as being a cool sound to have in your.
It's kind of like piano resonance in a way.
It absolutely is.
Weird, yeah.
Or it's like, you know, what I kind of liken it to is the U1, because we have the U1 piano here that we sampled with character. It's not every unison's in tune perfectly, but that U1 really is a popular sound in the CP series that's also in the YC. But that's what I mean. It's the imperfections in the sound that make the music, right? So I can add more leakage. And you hear it as I increase it. That's key click. Sorry, lots of key click though. Let's go back to key click. Or I can turn it way down. So no key click or lots of key click in here. If I go down one more now, back up to leak level. There's no leakage. There's that upper harmonic coming in there now.
And that's sort of probably going further than you would hear in an analog machine,
right.
But it's for effect. It works kind of cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, this is using virtual circuitry modeling, which we use on the Portico series plugins that Steinberg has, that we did in conjunction with Rupert Neve Designs. So it's basically what it is. He takes the schematics of whatever he's going to model, and he builds it from the circuit level.
Is Dr. K?
This is Dr. K. This is Toshi Kunamoto's technology, and his team kind of was involved in this new modeling for the tone wheel organ. So that's the H1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the leakage down to maybe, 64. That's a nice plus. And I'll maybe adjust the key click so it's down a little bit. And we'll just play through the different models. And the way to really hear this, and I'll turn the Leslie down. So. Okay, now I'll go to H2. It's a slight difference, but now it's a little bit more.
The leakage is slightly different as well.
It's different, yeah. The whole thing is, so this would be like the tone wheel organ that you find maybe that's been on the road a little bit, that's been played. Okay, H3 has a totally different. You hear the difference between it's like if I go H3, here's H2, H3 again. Just a little bit of difference as a starting point, and then H1.
Yeah, it's got a bit more kind of gnarly mid.
Right.
Yeah.
So each one kind of has a different flavor, but then from that point, that's where you can go into the organ change and change things. Now, some other things, obviously another big portion of the sound is that rotary speaker. So I'll show you some cool stuff with the rotary speaker. This is a killer rotary speaker effect in here. So the thing I like to show here is just the background noise.
Ah, yes.
This is a sound that tone wheel organ players, know very well. So listen to when I speed it up. Now I'll slow it down. So I'll speed it up again. Now listen to when it stops. It'll stop like there. And you speed it up again.
Yeah. So
and then I hit stop again, and it'll stop in a different position. It's really an interesting effect.
Yeah.
Now that's a little much. So I like to have it in there a little bit, like maybe here. But it really does. Something else that I love about this too is that when you use the expression pedal, usually expression just does expression, continuous control 11. It's just volume that it's turning up. This one actually also adjusts the drive. You can turn it on and off. So when I do that, it has that bite.
Yeah.
So they really thought about kind of things about that tone wheel organ experience that are really like make it like, yeah. So that's in the rotary speaker effect. Now I want to show you a few other ones. The F ones, F1 in here. This is like a pure sine wave 8 operator FM organ.
Okay.
Now it's cool because with this one, it doesn't have the fold back in the low end. It's got that big old sine wave bass. So I love it. Gospel players really like it. You know, it still has a nice. That's just the FM. So it's 8 operators. So you don't get the 9th drawbar on this one.
Right. Okay. Got you.
Now the F2 is a popular British transistor organ sound.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is more of the square pulse wave. Or F3 would be the popular Italian transistor organ. This one's actually really cool when you take it off the rotary speaker and use the lead sound and crank up the drive a bit. You know, it's got that.
Yeah. It's
definitely
it's a bit
the
more live,
transistor.
isn't it? Yeah.
Now, I actually use the F organs a lot as pad sounds too, which I'll show that in a second here too. But so you have these 6 different flavors of organ, 3 of which are tone wheel, 3 of which are FM. So that's the first part that we've added to this. Now the drawbar thing is cool too. Now I've only been looking at the upper drawbar, but notice when I hit the low, the color of the LEDs. This design's really cool. It's you can actually just touch on these and they kind of update. On the F organ, you don't get the 9th drawbar, right? But you have 7 different color types in here, so you can always see at a glance whether or not you're on the upper or lower. Now, let's say that you have a 61-note keyboard that you use. Maybe it's just an old one that's just been sitting there, but you're wondering, can I set up a second keyboard and just play the lower manual here and have the upper manual up here?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
I was going to ask that question, right?
That's so that's a cool thing. Another thing, let's say you have an older 88-note weighted keyboard, and the piano sound's kind of gotten a little tired, and you heard the C7 in here, and it's amazing. Can I hook that up and play the keys A section on the bottom keyboard, but still have access to the organ stuff on top? Yes, you can. So you have some really kind of cool things to make this work with what you already got, which is a really cool thing with this design of the YC61. So speaking of the keys section, now I can just turn sections on like this, right? But I actually have, if you're familiar with the CP, it has this live set interface in here. So I can basically touch any of these guys and get to, you know, the different pianos in here. So here's one right here. So we'll start off with some pianos in here. This is the CFX. So it's that, you know, I love this piano so much because on here too.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's a great piano. It's not seamless sound switching. I just switched to another sound. Here's the S700. So the S700, I like this kind of when I'm playing more in ensembles. This is actually from the S90ES, and it was a really popular piano for a lot of the studio guys in the U.S. So we added it to this guy. We also have it in the CP. And then, of course, we also have the C7 right here, too. And this, I love the C7 because it has this.
It's got a bit more of a ring when you, dynamic, isn't it?
But it also has a big hit for gospel players and stuff. So pianos, and then the last one I want to play is just, this is the U1, the character-rich U1. I love that piano because it sounds like the one that's in the basement of my house, kind of.
There's not. I mean, it's really got. So you've got that as well going
Yeah.
on. So yeah. Okay.
So acoustic pianos, we got that covered. Electric pianos are in here as well. You know, you hear. And then of course you also have your effects section over here. So if I want to say, right now I have it on. I didn't actually. What I should do is I'll just turn off that section, and turn on the B's key section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch some of the effects. Now look at the effects I'm going through. Touch wah, compressor. This one's the small stereo British lead and British combo or VCM amp models.
Yep.
A simple rotary speaker, auto pan, tremolo,
stuff, yeah.
dual phaser, max 90. Well, I like this one. This is my phaser. Except I don't want the C7. I want the electric piano. And you have, you know, very simple controls, depth and rate right here. So if you want this kind of like,
Yeah.
or
I mean, who doesn't?
who doesn't? That's exactly. So I can have a super wide with a slow phase in here.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
And maybe here is a better, you know.
Lovely.
So some other stuff that's in here. Let me just grab, go back here to my live sets.
They're
This
still
one-
constructing here. We should point
Yeah,
out.
they're
That's
still,
what
we're still setting up. So this one, so there's all sorts of really great sounds in here. But I found this one really interesting because if I turn on these two key sections, I can layer these. Now what I have in here is the F1 organ with kind of some little bit of drawbar, but I turned on the sustain pedal. So usually the sustain pedal's off on the organ section
sure.
as normal, but now I have it as this.
Well, that's very interesting. Subtle. Well, I like that.
It's interesting.
Nice.
It's like a guitar pad Metheny sort of thing,
Yeah,
you know.
it kind of reminds me of some 70s soundtrack work. That's some really
you know.
interesting stuff.
So there's lots of like tons of things to do with this instrument. You know, another thing that we added to it is let's find it here. I'm going to go back to where I just passed it. Lead sound. So we have portamento. We have
priority, no priority.
yeah. And so monophonic mode and that, you know, and portamento. Also the single EQ. So I just turned off one of the sections. So this is a filter with flat resonance. We have a few filter types in here that you can select
It's
from.
effect types, right? Okay.
So filter cutoff with flat resonance. This one has a little bit of a resonant boost in it. This one has a little different resonant kind of sound to it. Resonance speed. So there's 8 different sections here. There's also an EG settings in here, but all in single knob, which is kind of cool. So the idea behind this is that you can use it on a gig. You don't have to worry about cutoff frequency and resonance and too many things to do. I just want to make it brighter. I just want to make it darker.
Yeah.
So it keeps you in the music. That's kind of the idea behind that interface to do stuff with it.
It seems like very versatile. Actually,
It really is. Again, you know, I've been having so much fun with it because, for one thing, when I look at it, I'm always just like blown away by how just great it looks. It's just a great looking product.
you've gone for the same toggles. People
Yeah.
seem to dig those toggles.
Yeah, and the size, the compact nature of it, and the way it looks, just with the nice, you know, it's definitely of the lineage of the CP, but it's smaller.
Does it
and
come
stuff.
in just this keyboard?
Right? Yes, that's
So
exactly
is
right.
this
61.
61. Okay.
61. So the other thing, you know, we have a looper delay in here, so I can do my kind of. So I turn on the lower manual here and maybe. You know, turn off this section, turn on maybe this section. Do some kind of cool stuff. got the wrong one, sorry. Now we have seamless sound switching.
Ah, yeah.
So I can move to the next performance, keep this delay going,
Keep the delay going and play underneath.
and turn on this delay, and I have it the same tempo. So I can do these kind of cool things like add this. Weirds. Now, when I go to the effect here, now I've taken the effect still going, but I pulled everything out. So if I turn on my organ section here, want to bring it in.
Yeah,
So now if I go to
to
the next one here, now I've
You've
blown it
lost
out of the buffer. But you can do these kind of cool, interesting looping things. I did it last year on the CP.
Yeah, I remember.
But it's a little different how this works here, and it's actually cooler in some ways because of the, just the way the delay works. The looper delay is cool. There's also a tap tempo delay in here that we added to this as well. It was definitely, people wanted that. I want to have a tap, so we have a tap delay in here. So the last part of this that I like to kind of point out is it has USB audio and MIDI interface, so it's two to the computer, two back, or you can hook up your iPhone, so it's iOS compatible like this, so I can play background tracks from my phone. It's what I'm doing on the stage here during the show. There's some neat things in here too. I like to just point this out. On the bottom, if you look, do you see the Yamaha YC? This is a prototype, obviously, but we're going to keep this on the bottom, so as you sit it on top of the keyboard and you have it at an angle as your top keyboard, people will be able to see Yamaha YC. There's just little kind of cool little brandy things, but they're cool. The case itself actually has this little badge on there. We have these kind of cool carpets, but the case actually has a little piece of like just about this big that's on the side that has the drawbar look. So there's some kind of just cool design things about it that I like. It's just such a cool keyboard. It's lightweight. It sounds good. It feels good. What's not to love? It's really awesome.
So what sort of price is it going to be?
It's going to be $24.99 is the retail price here, the manufacturer suggested retail. So we're looking, somewhere in that 2,000 range is what it will sell for.
Ready now, coming?
No, we're coming. We're thinking probably mid to late spring is when it's going to be out in the market. So look for it then. Yeah.
Blake, thank you very much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Nick.